In the next few minutes, I am going to talk a bit about an access code and why it matters within SecureAnyBox. The purpose of SecureAnyBox, of course, is to secure our credentials, our files, certificates, credit card numbers, whatever we decide to store in here for our organization. And typically, with a lot of solutions that do these kinds of storage, the administrator of the system could potentially read all the data of all the users, which is not always ideal, maybe not ever ideal. The access code's purpose is to keep something away from the SecureAnyBox system's admin, so there's no way for that person to see data of individual users unless it's shared or unless it's granted via policy. So today we'll see how that looks. If we log into the system I have with the correct password, I'm going to create a new user to show what is and what is not there. So we'll create a new user just as soon as I make this so that I can see all the buttons. Let's call him test user 00. First name test, last name user. Fine. All is well. I can set the user's password initially because, without it they couldn't log in. So I'll make it really smart. Test user 00 password. This is a terrible password, but we're not really caring about that. I'm not going to grant any other privileges. Just create the user. Notice there's no option here for an access code to be specified. Now it wants my access code as the system admin in order to authorize creation of this user. So I'll specify that. See, now we have test user 00 with the capital E I should have taken out. What we don't have is this column right here where on other users it says SafeBox access code is set. This user hasn't logged in to set it, and so of course they haven't set it. What that also means is that if I come into SafeBoxes and I wanted to grant rights, I won't even see that user as an optional user. Because that user hasn't set their access code yet, they also cannot be granted rights to anything in the system. Next, let's log out. Log in as test user 00. And when I'm first logging in, the first thing it asks me is for my new access code. This isn't root's or admin's access code. This is the access code for test user 00. This is something test user 00 should never give to anyone ever. They don't store it in the system. They ought to keep it to themselves. It ought to be fairly strong. By default, it wants a decent length and complexity. So we'll put in test user 00 code with a capital T at the beginning. And it must contain 2 uppercase letters and 2 lowercase letters and 1 digit. So apparently I must try again. The strength of the access code is configurable for the system. This is the default policy, I believe. Now that I've done that, I'm in the system. My credentials are secured by me. Even if I put in my root password or whatever into the system, another user cannot access those unless I share them. Also, while we're at it, let's go to admin, and I'll show you that once that's set, first under the users view, we'll see that. I can also filter out initialized users. An initialized user is one that has set their access code. And I can go to the SafeBox, see showing in permissions, and now if I were at the right level, that would make a big difference. Let's go back to the SafeBoxes, go to CIO stuff, sharing and permissions, add user. Now test user 00 does show up because they have set their access code. So again, the access code is what prevents my credentials from being seen by anyone else in the system, even the system admin, unless I share it. I share a credential. That means there's no backdoor to the system for the system admin. That can be great if you want security, and it can be very frustrating if your users, or if you as a user, forget your access code. Don't forget your access code. Otherwise, there's no backdoor in this system because it's protected using encryption from your access code. That's all for now.